Gavin, I did want to, while we have a little bit of time here to kill before Anthony joins us, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the box office opening weekend of Superman. I, in our patron review, spoiler alert, projected that it would make $1 billion after seeing it. I was like, wow, if the people liked Marvel, wait till they get their eyes on this. This actually has personality. This actually has panache. This actually has POV. I actually feel like I'm watching a film that was directed by a person who wants to make a movie. You know what I mean? Not by an AI machine, not by somebody that's an executive that's just looking at a spreadsheet, right? Unfortunately, it hasn't gone off quite as I expected. It's raked in about $122 million at the box office in its debut. Do you think that it has a path to the $1 billion mark left?
No, I don't think it will make $1 billion. I never really thought it would, to be honest.
No, you said it would not in the review, but
yeah,
I was holding out hope for the believers.
There's just something about Superman. I mean, even like I said, Man of Steel, which came out during much more kind of ideal conditions for a superhero movie, right off the the hype of the Dark Knight trilogy, right at the beginning of the MCU. Momentum, and even that movie I think made like not even 700 million. So that movie didn't make $1 billion, and it had the ideal conditions to do so. I see this one, tracking in a similar way. And what they're really going to hope for is to be able to build it into a cinematic universe. This movie had to be successful, obviously, but what really matters is the next 10 years. This is the first film in a larger cinematic universe rollout. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because the only thing I'm a little bit worried about, Zach, is I loved Superman. We talked about it on the channel. I was, gave it a glowing review, 9 out of 10. I love the direction that James Gunn is taking this in. I am a little bit concerned, however, about the films that are going to be in the cinematic universe that won't be directed by James Gunn.
You mentioned that on the car ride home.
Yeah, I was like, we'll see how the other, filmmakers he recruits, how they do, and how, similar the tone all is. Because one thing I did not really like about the MCU was kind of the sameness of it all. It felt like all the cameras were the same. Like every movie was shot with the same cameras. They all kind of had
line style.
Yeah, they all kind of had this like gray aesthetic. The most personality you ever got was the James Gunn directed Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but at least they felt a little bit unique. So I'm hoping they don't take a similar tact with the DCU, where it's like they force every filmmaker to make a movie with the same aesthetic and the same filmmaking style. I hope they allow the different voices to, make their own unique stamps on these properties. But it's going to be interesting to see if they can really tie it into something cohesive that people keep coming back to see the next chapter of. Because at its height of popularity, the MCU was like a popular television show. Like every new entry was like, oh, it's like Sunday night, the new episode of this really popular show is on. Everyone went to see it. Everyone was talking about it. Twitter exploded, when the spoilers started to come out, all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see if he can replicate that effect beyond what I do think is an undeniably very successful first entry.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. I guess my expectations were a little out of depth. I remember thinking, didn't Joker make a fuckload of money when the first one came out? And I was like, okay.
It made $1 billion.
Yeah, people were really excited about it. I was like, okay, here comes James Gunn. And also maybe I was a little high on the magic of the movies when we got out of that, because my expectations were literally zero, guys. I was expecting to hate every second of it. I'm not kidding. Like, I was trying to go in with the right mentality, but I was also prepared to be like, if this is just horrid like every other Marvel movie I've ever seen, like I'm going to be prepared for that, right? Completely blew my expectations out of the water in that sense. One thing I am seeing a lot of, and I don't know if it's just because movie YouTube has kind of been perverted and taken over by right-wing accounts, do you think that there's any truth to the fact that this film is suffering because it went woke?
Not really. I don't see much evidence of that yet, because like I said, this movie is far exceeding the box office of previous the last handful of DCU movies, in the previous now canceled DCU, right? The Aquaman movie that flopped, the second one.
Which you said you actually didn't mind, right?
I really like the Aquaman movie, specifically the second one. It's totally underrated. It's a great time. But my point is that there was like 5 DCU movies that all underperformed. Blue Beetle, Shazam 2, the fucking all these movies that underperformed. That's why they had to cancel Joker Folie à Deux, and all these movies massively underperformed. Even though Joker 2 wasn't part of Zack Snyder's DCU, their failures contributed to the Warner Brothers deciding to completely reboot it and start from scratch, which is what led to James Gunn Superman, which, like I said, just outperformed all those other movies, which did not have a woke agenda about them. Those movies were not political at all, from what I can remember, and they made less money than this one. So I don't think that it really has anything to do with that. And like I said, this one did about as much as Man of Steel did on its opening weekend. And that movie's directed by Zack Snyder, who's more of a right-wing coded filmmaker, if anything. So I think that's a bunch of brouhaha, a much ado about nothing for the most part. I don't really think it had much to do with the film underperforming. And I don't even really think you can say it underperformed, because this movie also had a pretty comparable opening weekend to Matt Reeves' The Batman from a couple of years ago. So, you know, and that movie did pretty well.
And Batman is a much more popular IP than Superman, at least in the year 2025, I would argue.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The